Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Doby, and today, I have a distinct honor of talking to Mr. Robert Crawford. He is the president of the Emancipation Proclamation Committee and Parade in Charleston, North Carolina. Oh my
South
God.
Carolina.
South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. And this year, January 1st, they celebrated the 156th running of the Emancipation Proclamation Parade. It is the longest running Emancipation Proclamation Parade. As a matter of fact, for me, it's the only one that I've ever heard of. And it celebrates that all-important moment when I believe that the last slaves heard about the Emancipation Proclamation from President Lincoln. Thanks for being with us today, Mr. Crawford.
Hey man, good evening to you from Charleston, South Carolina. Actually, I live in the Somerville area, but we are glad to be a part of today's session and share some of our rich story.
Okay, so Mr. Crawford, let's kick it off with a little bit of your background and what brought you to be a part of the Emancipation Proclamation Parade.
Somewhat twofold. I began far as back as I can remember. You know, our families always attended watch night service. In the South, we did what we call watch night services. And around 1970, 1971, I actually marched in the New Year's Day parade. We would always go to the parades prior to that. And then in 1971, I played the bass drum for my local high school, Charles A. Brown High School. And so we marched in the New Year's Day parade celebration. Kind of fast forwarding a little bit more, 1989, my church family, they asked that I would take a part, attend the meeting, because the lady who was in charge, her health was getting ill.
Right,
Long
right.
story short. So I picked up the banner and said, well, I thought I'd just go there as a young man to help move the tables and chairs around, but lo and behold, I ended up staying and learning some things about in 1989, 1990 about the association and working with the ladies and the preachers who really held down the fort. And so from 1989, 1990 until now, on last year, actually, I became the president of the organization. So it really has given me a sense of pride as well as seeing the direction that we need to go. And then it gave me a concrete foundation about what we were doing. So I really have enjoyed the companionship, the camaraderie, and now I see our efforts are not in vain. So I thank you.
Okay, so it's been a long time since young people were that self-aware or aware of their surroundings, what was really going on. You're talking about, nowadays they're more interested in their jewelry and whatnot, as opposed to the world around them and their part in it, or the effect the world has on their individual lives. So back then, what was like a defining moment that made you say, yep, it's time for me to step in and be the young lion at the head of the
table? I marched in the hospital strike we had here back in 1969. And I saw the need. We always talk about who's going to be the next Black person to step up and do their part. And I think it was just my next man up move. More so that we saw there was a void that needed to be filled. We had to share this information. Many reasons that people don't listen to or take a part in our Black men. I'm going with Black men. We have not oftentimes taken part enough into how do we share our rich stories. We like history, but we don't tell the stories. So somewhere in the midst of around that 1990s period, I saw that need. I needed to stick it out. I didn't need to let this drop. We're going into a new era. We finally saw us have the opportunity to elect a president, a Black president. So things were moving forward. But then there was still in Charleston a mindset, as that we still needed to improve.
Right.
And so I wanted to do my part. I had to get it. I had to get activated, and I'm glad I did.
I think it's really culturally significant that this parade is held in the South, in South Carolina, nonetheless, with its strong history of enslavement and suppression of Black people. And the fact that, we have an organization that has stood up against, I know that you've had some difficulties with the powers that be to keep the parade going. And it took a lot of intestinal fortitude, same as, it took Dr. King, to stand up in front of those fire hydrants and those dogs. Maybe not so defined, maybe a little more subtle, but I'm sure that the pressure was there to derail the process of this parade.
Yeah, I think there were small things that will have tried to change it, and there again, we've had to keep the parade successfully done every year on January 1, for fear that somebody else oftentimes might try to move into that date.
Right.
So we've had to, do our best to make sure that we record that date ahead of time, that's our date.
Right.
We have to tell the people, tell this world, January 1 is the day that we celebrate our emancipation. Now, oftentimes in other cities and a variety of other locations, Virginia as well, they do a different date. In Juneteenth, they do Juneteenth because 2 years later they got the information. But here in Charleston, we've had our share of difficulties, but we've always been able to keep the same date. January 1 is our day that we celebrate. I found that, communication works. We've been fortunate enough that I've had a good team. I've been able to go directly to the source and get some things accomplished. And it's not just me now, because we know that there's some things and people who would not like us to go any further with this oftentimes. But I must admit that we've gotten, the mayor of Charleston actually called me on last year and said, hey, we want to still go forward with the parade. What's going on with it? His team, Michael Wack and others, they called and said, hey, Robert, we need to know what you're doing. So we had to put together a virtual parade last year because of COVID. Right. But this year, the city, once again, they came back and they said, hey, man, we want you to make this the biggest parade ever. Even though it was in the midst of COVID, we said, I believe and trust in what we can do. Okay. And so we worked toward it.
So pretty historic, 156 years. And then there was an added, a very special added tidbit. At the end, you landed at what's going to be an African-American museum.
International African-American Museum is being built here in downtown Charleston, right on in this wharf, Gadsden Wharf, that where 42.2% of the slaves, man, were either imported or exported from Charleston. And I've got the opportunity, I've been blessed with the favor to take the first parade of us there, to stand in that gateway, to be a part of this symbolic moment where our brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers came into this portal into Charleston, or either were exported out of this portal. And and man, you feel the power of it. You can feel the sense of just being, the sense of pride right now, because on this Saturday past, it was a different story. It was a different feeling. Not that we've made it already or anything, but we've come to a new day.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, very impressive. Very impressive. I'm glad I got an opportunity to meet you and to see this come kind of the process a little bit, come to fruition from afar, me being in Kansas City. But, God willing, I'll be there for 157 to witness it personally. So I look forward to that. And I can't thank you enough. I'm a younger man than you, but I'm older than a lot of other folks. You know what I mean? But I want to just, as giving you respect as the elder, I want to just say thank you. You know what I mean? For stepping up. Thank you for your leadership and keeping this going. It's very important that our stories like this are shared for the next generation. And our next generation needs to understand that the work of the people who came before them and came before me, and even came before you, is not over. We're still here, and we still have these issues. And it's, 400 years, you're still talking about the same issues on different scale. But then we're also, dealing with, those of us who wear the same uniform killing our own and forgetting that we're free.
See, one of the things, one of the reasons, and not to cut you off, excuse me.
No.
But one of the reasons I also looked at this is the Civil War, of course, was one of the bloodiest times in history. And it took 3 years, almost 3 years into the Civil Wars, when they Abraham Lincoln actually first wrote and got the Emancipation Proclamation signed and everything. So 3 years later, of course, began the parade. So 1863 to 1866, when we started having the parades, the war had come to an end now. But there was a moment now that in this history piece that people don't understand, that Black men and women left the South to go north to gain their freedom. They gained their freedoms now, and this was all going on during that same window that President Abraham Lincoln, was looking to sign the proclamation. So with the movement there, people were able now to go north and join the army. They were able to, the proclamation actually and opened the door for us to be in the military, the Army and Navy, especially if you're in the South, okay, enslaved. So now you got brothers and sisters who came back now to free and help save those who were oppressed. So that's what I think our calling is today. How do we come back and help save those who are oppressed? Bring them up, because we got to show a different attitude and this latitude at this time. And we got to look at how do we grow one another as well. Like you said, this killing one another, Black men killing one another, that's not how we help one another grow. We already got enough issues, enough people against us. How do we stop being against us? And that's where we've got to work toward growing that part of our community as well.
We need to emancipate ourselves from that mindset. You know what I mean? We got one type of emancipation, but we need to put it to good use and not have ourselves stuck in the slave pen, mental slave pen. You know what I mean? Where we're affecting each other negatively. So we need to emancipate ourselves. It's another reason why I wanted to really cover the 156th run of the Emancipation Proclamation parade, because it's symbolic of so many things, not just the actual white man releasing us from slavery, but also the fact that, we have a bunch of young people. It has gone 156 years. There's a mindset that we have to be free, and we have to maintain that freedom and work hard. There's got to be another generation to keep this carried on. You know what I mean?
And that's what we're believing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm believing. And that's why that goes back to your first question, our earlier question. What do we see where we are and going with this? Because if we don't teach the generations to follow our history, and one of our weaknesses, now you're a writer, so that's an advantage point. But there are a lot of people who are not writers. So a lot of our history is not told or taught. I mean, it's told verbally, but it has not been transferred into manuscripts, books that we can carry on and share these stories. In Charleston, of course, we got 1,000,001 stories from every aspect. And a lot of people only hear one side of the story. And it's being watered down if you don't be careful. So we want to make sure that our history still is kept in the forefront. But at the same time, now we can't live in the past. We're going to have to live in the 21st century.
Yes, sir.
We got to make some changes.
Yes, sir. There is a full and rich history that comes out of South Carolina, and Charleston specifically is one of those hot spots.
Yes.
And we definitely need to tell the story. So you had a very special Grand Marshal this year too, someone who's a world leader, has emerged as a kind of a world personality via her protest on the podium at the Olympics, Raven Saunders. And how did you guys come to choose her as your Grand Marshal?
I actually was attending this is a real story. Now, this is a true story. Representative Dr. Lucille Whipper funeral. I was attending the funeral, and a good friend of ours, I saw him at the funeral, and he suggested to me, Clay Milton, I'll be honest with you, he said to me, he said, hey man, I got something for you, because I had reached out to him a few days earlier about the parade as well. And he said, man, I got somebody I want to give you an idea to utilize maybe for this year's parade. And he shared her name. And when he said Raven Saunders, man, it was like ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. We have a winner.
Right.
And so I went back to the committee with it. But prior to going back to the committee, I called her cousin. Her cousin, William Singleton, is a good friend of mine. We sang in the mass choir and the male choir at our church. So I called him. He was down in Florida. And he said, man, that's my cousin. Yeah, I'll call it for you. And we built a relationship from there. So it was an honor that he could reach out. She said yes. And when I spoke with her, and a text message, initially she just sent back, said, yeah, I'll be glad to do it. And so we started putting things in order from there. And it was definitely a blessing to have her serve this year, because it really helped hype up the market. It changed the participation, I believe, as well. And it gave us some national attention as well.
Yeah, I saw the story everywhere. You know, definitely the region was killing. We're gonna help elevate it from the Hype magazine end as well, and try to get some national readership. We've got an audience of about 1.4 million. I think that will be interested in hearing the story and seeing the photos, and definitely connecting with some of the roots. I mean, since a lot of us, my family, on my grandmother's side, my father's mother is from Columbia, South Carolina.
Really?
Yes. I did basic training in Columbia, South Carolina at Fort Jackson.
So did I.
Go Army. That's right. So you were there when it was Camp Jackson?
Yeah, Fort Jackson. Yeah, 1972.
72?
1972, 1973. Yeah.
I came through 81, July 7th, 1981 was my first day of basic training. I've never been so hot in my life. I had said that South Carolina heat hit me. And I had made the mistake of standing there, locking my knees, and passed out in the chow line. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I've never been the same. I've respected the heat ever since.
Yeah. You have to pace yourself here.
Yeah. But going out into the city, into the state a little bit, it's beautiful country and beautiful people, amazing history. Obviously I didn't get a chance to study the history as much, but I'm coming full circle, and the Emancipation Proclamation Parade has brought me full circle, and I'm coming again this time, though. I'm coming to do my due diligence and enjoy and really learn, and hopefully I can bring it back to our audience again and a little more in depth.
That'd be great, because our plans this year going forward hopefully will be to educate and do a much better job of educating. I think people just see the parade piece oftentimes, right, and they don't hear the history teaching part that I pray that we are able to establish and do a better job of establishing in Charleston as well. So we've got some partnerships.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we're trying to build some new partnerships with some others to expand our base as well.
Okay. Now, are there any activities that you guys do throughout the year as well?
Yes, there are. We annually do a brunch, of course, which is a scholarship brunch. We call it the A.W. Hunt, Albert W. Hunt Scholarship Brunch. Because we're always trying to raise funds so that we can help not only offset costs, but help the kids. We also do a King and Queen, annual King and Queen contest. Now, King and Queen contest, we have a variety of local churches and used to be the schools as well could participate. The schools have not been participating like we would like to see, but that's coming now. We've got their attention, I think, again. And so we're looking forward to those two projects every year. And then we generally take the kids on a field trip somewhere. We've taken them down to different locations. We've taken them down to Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. They do a little piece of studying the emancipation history down there as well. We've taken a few other locations, and then at the end of the year, of course, we do a little brief celebration with the kids. Take them out for the Christmas lights, something along that line. Take them out for pizza. Just let them socialize at the same time. But so we do try to incorporate a little bit of historical training in there at least once during the course of the year with a field trip, and then everything else as far as working within the area. This year we're anticipating now that we do have an International African American Museum. I'm hoping that they will, once it's opened, that they can see and do some field trips within the area and learn a little bit more about Africa, maybe as well as the connection, see the route that those who were enslaved and brought here took, learn something about, the foods that were taken from here to taken back, as part of the trade slave market. So there's a lot of history that we need to learn, learn some things about maybe Europe and the British companies, who affected this change. So we've got a lot of teaching I think we need to do. And then we need to look at how do we move another generation to the next level.
Well, I hope that everything falls in line for you to continue to sustain this program. And most certainly, you've got a friend here at the Hype Magazine. I will definitely support as much and as often as I can. I want to thank you, Mr. Crawford, for the time that you spent with me this evening. I know that you've been ripping and running, and we got you pretty much as soon as you had any chance to put your slippers on and unlax. So from the day, so I really appreciate your time. Once again, I appreciate your leadership. Thank you for what you do.
Man, I'm honored. I'm honored.
All right. Was there anything that you wanted to close out with? Do you have a website, social media addresses that you'd like to give out?
Sure. Let me, on our website, for those who like to maybe visit that, you can go to CHS, that's abbreviation for Charleston, CHSEPA.wordpress excuse me, correction. Please bear with me just now. A lot going on here. But that's CHSEPA.wordpress.com. That would take you right to our website. Right now we do have our virtual church service we just pulled off as well on that site. We've got information about us, a little bit about us. We're just building the site again, to a point where now we're getting more and more comfortable with it. So there's some few changes. You'll see some parade pictures. There are some events that we've done with the kids. I think we've got a long, rich history. We don't have all the pictures. I think we went back real quick up to about 2008, 9, somewhere in there, with some of the activities and the parades. But we do have a lot more probably coming. It's just a matter of building our information up.
Okay. Thank you again. I hope you have a great evening. I appreciate you. Thanks to Mr. Crawford for allowing you to come on and spend some time with me and taking time away from your family. I really appreciate you. And I look forward to speaking with you again and supporting.
Jerry, I appreciate it. I thank you also giving us this opportunity to share our story. Listen a little bit about us. I look forward to being a part of, when you come in town, let us know. We'll see what we can do to make sure you're comfortable.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. The Hype Magazine live sessions, Mr. Robert Crawford. The Emancipation Proclamation Parade is an annual event. They just had their 156th running, and we're looking to be there next year, January 1st every year, Charleston, South Carolina. And it's very important for our history. So we'll see you then. Till next time.